Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here and allowing me to just say a few words about this tremendous organization that I've been involved with since I was Hennepin County Attorney. And I always like to say that we put some business techniques into running the county attorney's office. But in the end, we always knew we didn't want to be a business because we didn't want to have repeat customers, right? But I have always loved what Steve and Art have put into this organization and the way that you've used numbers and wanted to show exactly what you've done, because we have so many well-meaning organizations, including in the employment area, but not every one of them is able to show the stuff. And I loved when they put up the 82% success rate versus the 42%. And in a very Minnesota way, after there was a big pause, everyone goes like this. Oh, it's very, very good. I was picturing in Chicago, they'd be like, ah, standing up. But anyway, I hope you guys realize what a tremendous thing it is. I know I missed the mayor here. I was teasing him at an event Friday night that with all of the celebrations of his time as mayor, that it's lucky he is in the city of Lakes because he'll have plenty of water to walk on, right? And also the great members of the city council and all of our leaders from the business community, of which we are so very proud. I don't want to add a lot about what this group does because I think you know it, and that's why I've always been so interested from the beginning in the job training work and how important it is. And it has become even more important in the last few years. We have a problem in Minnesota that not every state has. And in a way, we're fortunate to have this problem, and that is that we do have some job openings in our state that we have been unable to fill, as some of our businesses know, and that we have to train people so that they can match their skills with the jobs that we have. The unemployment rate nationally is at 7.6%. The unemployment rate in Minnesota is 5.4%. And by the way, in Chicago, they would clap for that, okay, right? A lot of that has to do with the fact that we have these strong businesses and that they're distributed across our state in a good way, and that we have a strong ag sector, and that we've never let go of this idea that we can make stuff in Minnesota and invent things and export to the world. But one of the problems that we have, like every other state has right now, is a problem with long-term unemployed. That still hasn't gone away. That's people that are out of work for more than 6 months. It's a story of people like Rodney and people who know how difficult it is once you've reached a certain point to get back into that job market. And I actually had a hearing on this. I'm Senate chair of the Joint Economic Committee, which means that I'll chair it in 2 years because right now the House chairs it. The fun thing about this, by the way, is that it means I get to go to the very elite chairman's meetings of the United States Senate. Someone was teasing me at being the vice chair of the Joint Economic Committee. It's like I have Baltic Avenue on the Monopoly board, but I'm on the board. And so this gives me a much better insight in what we're doing and much better influence. But the point is, we had this hearing last week, and there were about 4 people that showed up, but it was an incredible hearing. And I found it a little depressing that people didn't show up at a hearing in great numbers on long-term unemployment, because it's one of the biggest problems our country has right now. 4.6 million people fit into the category of the long-term unemployed in the United States of America. And we clearly have to do more to address this. Younger workers who are just beginning their careers right now and who may have student loans, they are actually experiencing the highest rates of long-term unemployment. And for workers of all ages, this report we did showed that the longer a person is unemployed, the less likely they are to find a job as skills atrophy, professional networks dry up. And you can imagine the numbers, and I don't have them here, but I'm sure that Steve and Art know them, for people who have had some kind of a setback or an involvement with the criminal justice system or drugs or other things. It's even harder. Yet at the same time, the good side of the coin, manufacturing companies in Minnesota, 60% of them in the recent poll that was done by Enterprise Minnesota, this is just this, it's hot off the presses 2 months ago, 60% of them said it was difficult to attract candidates with the right experience. Only 40% of them 3 years ago reported that program. So that is a major jump with the same pool, same polling organization, everything else. So again, this is a good problem to have when you're looking for a job, but we have to make sure that people have these skills. It also raises the question of how much of our unemployment right now is cyclical, something that can change. There is definitely that going on in our country, but we're also starting to have a bigger structural unemployment problem, which means, again, we don't have people with the skills that match the jobs that we have. And this is one of the things that I am focused on. I'm glad to see Katie Clark, Cindy Bowerly, who just came here, moved back to Minnesota. She was head of the FEC, Federal Election Commission. I didn't get any trouble there, luckily, and has come back as the Deputy Commissioner of DEED, are tackling these problems because a lot of it is making sure these workers that we have, like Rodney, are able to get these jobs. It's also making sure that kids in high school are getting the skills that they need so that they can maybe get a 1-year or 2-year degree while they're in high school, so they set off on the right path to where the jobs are available. But we have to match these skills with the jobs we have. I have talked to employers, particularly in western Minnesota, who literally are turning down work. These are manufacturing jobs. They don't have enough welders. They don't have enough people to repair the robotics equipment. They don't have enough people to run the robotics equipment. They're losing people to North Dakota, of all things, because of all the drilling that's going on and the energy production there. And so there's just a major mismatch going on right now, and Twin Cities Rise can be a major part of fixing it. The skills training and the partnerships with Minnesota businesses are what truly, when you look at those numbers, lead to the long-term successes for your graduates. And when we actually crunch the numbers, as we look at budget issues in Washington, which is what we're doing a lot of right now, and we have to do it in a smart way. Well, when you crunch these numbers, we know that every dollar invested in your program generates more than $7 for the community. That comes in the form of increased tax revenue when people actually go out and get a job, and reduce state subsidies because the state is no longer paying for them. So if you put the money into the right programs like this one, and we're able to, in the last 2 years, right, Steve, get a $1.5 million grant. Am I right, Art? Thank you. Make sure that we are investing federal money in the programs that work, because it's going to benefit us in the end. And I've long advocated, back when we could get what we call congressionally initiated projects, or as they were known, earmarks. I have long advocated for Twin Cities Rise, and now we're doing it through the departments. But I think it's very, very important that we support these projects. And as we look at the budget situation we're facing and the need to bring our debt down in a balanced way, and we must do that we don't do it on the backs of the people that need the money, but also the programs that are working. And that's where we have to ferret out what's working from what's not working. This is a program that clearly works. You see it in the numbers, you see it in the faces of people like Rodney, and you see it in all of you who are devoted to helping people that you may never meet, but understand that this is part of our obligation to our citizens, but also to making sure our country works, and I want to thank you for that. I just want to end with one story. I think I might have used it here a few years ago, but I was thinking as Art was talking about graduations, and Rodney was talking about his daughter graduating from high school and college. As was mentioned, my daughter is graduating, and I am dealing with a 17-year-old. Anyone that does that knows it's not always an easy thing. A few months ago, I called her at school. This is a true story, on her cell phone. She answered the phone with these words: "What is it about school you don't get?" And I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Well, at school, kids are supposed to learn, and parents aren't supposed to bother them because they're supposed to learn." So then, a month later, and people can do a version of this themselves, I decided to get back at her, and it was when I was coming out with the president on Air Force One, and there is such a thing as the Air Force One operator when you are airbound. And so I had you call, and the Air Force One operator will call anyone you want and say, "Air Force One operator calling, Senator Klobuchar." That's what I did to my daughter. "Air Force One operator calling, is Abigail there?" She says, "Hi, Mom, how are you?" And she thought the president was listening in. So I decided I should do this all the time and just have a fake person saying Air Force One operator. But anyway, my real story for Twin Cities Rise was back when she was about 4 years old. She had a kid over, they were playing with dolls. And I walked by the room, and I heard her say to this older girl, they were talking about the dolls, how much she liked the dolls. And then the older girl says, "Well, one day soon, I'm going to have a baby just like this doll." And I thought, what is my daughter going to say? My daughter looked at her and she said, "Well, I'm going to have a baby too, but not for a long, long time, because you can't have a baby until you run for office and win an election." So I decided that we had set expectations high in our household. And that's what Twin Cities Rise does for Rodney, for all of the clients, for all the people you work with, and more importantly, for the businesses you work with and for our community, that says we are not just going to take this long-term unemployment and believe that people are going to be out of work and on the state dime forever. We believe these people should have a second chance. We believe they can be productive, and we need them in our workforce. Thank you very much.